Hey, what's up, Logos American History students? It is Friday. Happy Friday, June 12th, 2020. Day 5 of our Term 6, Day 55 overall of our e-learning experience. We have made it through our first week of Term 6, right? 1 week down, 5 more weeks to go. So this is a shorter term. So, we're already a fifth of the way through. So, good job, good start. Let's keep it rolling. We got 1 week down, and like I said, 5 more weeks to go, and then everybody will have a nice summer break. So let's go ahead and keep this week, the first week, rolling so that we're ready to go, rolling into next week, rolling into the weekend. Let's go ahead and take a look at our Blackbaud page. We have been talking about Richard Nixon quite a bit, and we actually had a Zoom meeting yesterday. I know some of you were in there. Hope to see more of you in the Zoom meeting next Thursday. But it was fun because some of you may already know this if you've been in this class previous terms. But for the Zoom meeting, we join up with Johnny White's American History class. So we get to kind of bring everybody together to discuss the topics that we've been discussing. And so if you weren't able to make it to yesterday's Zoom meeting, that's okay. Just do your best, please, to make it to next Thursdays at 11 a.m. And again, we will be in there with, there'll be 4 total American history classes in there, 2 of mine and 2 of Johnny White's, so we can bring everybody together. We were discussing Richard Nixon, as we've been talking about all week. And you guys know how I feel about Nixon. I was kind of going off on him yesterday. I try to bring the enthusiasm. I'm not really that passionate about Richard Nixon. I don't even know the guy. I wasn't even alive for his presidency. But I'll tell you what, I still think he was one of the worst. But that's just my opinion. A lot of people will point out that he accomplished quite a bit as president. And, it might be kind of unfair of me to judge him by how his presidency ended. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Richard Nixon is the only president to ever have to resign in shame, right? He had to quit because he was going to be kicked out, right? He was not impeached. Donald Trump was impeached. Bill Clinton was impeached. Andrew Johnson was impeached. We have had 3 presidents who were impeached. Impeachment doesn't mean kicked out. Impeachment means officially charged with misconduct that could lead to you getting kicked out after a trial. Once you're impeached, you have a trial, and if they convict, then you're kicked out. In all 3 cases of presidential impeachment, Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump, at the end of the trial, they said, we're going to keep him. We did not find enough evidence to say that this guy needs to be removed from office. In Richard Nixon's case, they never got that far. Before they could even get to formally impeaching him, all the senators who were going to be conducting the trial came to him and said, look, if you get impeached, we're going to convict you and kick you out. So you might as well just resign right now. And that's how he did. So the question is, why? Why did he have to resign? Why was he going to be impeached? And that's what the reading and the lesson today is all about. It's all about something called the Watergate scandal. So if we go into topics, go under Nixon, our topic of the week, right? And we see the newest download of the reading is chapter 25, section 3. You also have the Google form embed for the questions. There are, I think, 6 questions, right? But again, those are also under assignments. There's Nixon. I've showed him before. On this topics page, I do want to show you one thing. There's a couple links down here, but there's also an embedded YouTube video that I think is freaking amazing. This is one of the best campaign videos I've ever seen in my life. Listen to this music. This song will get stuck in your head.
Reaching out to find a way to make tomorrow a brighter day, making dreams reality. More than ever, Nixon now for you and me. Nixon now, Nixon now. He's made the difference. He's shown us how. Nixon now, Nixon now. More than ever, Nixon now. Listen, America.
No, this was the campaign video from 1972, his re-election. One of the catchiest jingles I've ever heard for a presidential campaign. Nixon now. I love it. Again, there's things I love about Nixon, but mostly I hate him, right? Again, this shows how good he was at selling himself, but he really, I mean, the public figure, the public face that Nixon showed to the world was not the real Nixon. And we saw the real Nixon during the Watergate scandal. So again, if we download the reading, which is all about the Watergate scandal, Watergate is a building in Washington, D.C. It was home to the Democratic Party's headquarters. And during the presidential election of 1972, when the Republican Nixon was running for re-election, people working for him broke into the Democrat national headquarters to steal files and to tap the phones. They were caught. Nixon at the time had no ties to the break-in, but after they were caught, he used his power to try and shut down the investigation, to try and cover up the crimes. And he got caught. And he got caught because he recorded every conversation that he ever had in the White House, secretly recorded them. And eventually, they got a hold of the tapes, and they heard Nixon on tape, plotting the cover-up. It was a long investigation. It didn't happen immediately, but the only reason the investigation even really took place was because of these two men. These are reporters for the Washington Post, investigative reporters who had a source, a secret source in the FBI, the assistant director of the FBI, who went to them and said, look, there's a cover-up going on. There's some stuff you need to know about Nixon that he doesn't want anyone to know. And they published this, and it led to the investigations, which ultimately brought Nixon down, right? And again, he was brought down because he was corrupt. He was trying to cheat to win the 1972 election, which he did win, right? He was reelected in a landslide. Nixon did more than just break in, or have people break into the Watergate and the Democratic Committee's headquarters. There was another source in the military, a guy named I think it's Ellsberg. He leaked some secret Pentagon papers, military papers, which were published, which showed that the U.S. military and the U.S. government knew for years that the Vietnam War was not being won. And so they're telling the American public, we're almost going to win, we're almost going to win. At the same time, they knew they were not winning, and they were not going to win. And again, Nixon, when this information was leaked, Nixon was pretty upset about it, so he had his people, known as the plumbers, because they were known for fixing leaks, break into Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatrist's office to steal his personal psychiatric files. So again, it was all kinds of corrupt, shady stuff that the Nixon administration was doing. Nixon resigned from office, but never got in any other trouble for that. We'll talk about why that happened. But a lot of people that worked for Nixon ended up going to jail for a long time. And so that's how the Nixon presidency ends. So you have, as always, if we go back to the assignments tab, some questions to answer on Chapter 25, Section 3. And then we have a question of the day. And let's take a look at our question of the day. Question of the day, there's a video to go along with it, which I like this video. It's called History Versus. History Versus is a series of videos produced by TED, of TED Talks, TED Ed, actually. And for this question of the day, I want you to watch this 5-minute YouTube video, History versus Richard Nixon. And then after watching this overall, based on what you see in the video and what you've learned so far about Nixon, do you think Nixon did a good job or a bad job as president? And why? Right? And this video, again, presents the evidence for both sides. So I want you to watch and let me know what you think, right? So answer that. Answer the question of the day. But yeah, this video is pretty good. Let's see.
The presidency of the United States of America
It's got some weird animations, but again, it presents some really good information from both sides. We've talked about this. Nixon opened up U.S. relations with China. He relaxed tensions between U.S. and the Soviet Union. He created the EPA, you know, and things like that. But he did a lot of stuff that I don't like either. I know my opinion. I want to know yours. Watch the video. Answer the question of the day. And, yeah, have a good weekend. Peace.